Hello everyone, and thank you for watching. This is Hadrian, and it is time, at long last, sorry to make you wait so long for this, to take a look back on Season 1 of Against All Odds, in the Long Dark. I really apologize for how long it took to get this video out. Number one, the series is just very important to me, and it took a while to really wrap my head around all the things that I wanted to say. And number two, I've just been busy. Just plain and simple. So, glad to finally get it going. Really quick, for those of you who have never seen a look back video before, I really value community and channel subscriber, viewer interaction, whatever, however you want to label it, on my channel, and I really enjoy the idea of being able to go back on certain videos that were very, very popular, that generated a lot of interaction, and having a retrospective where I actually invite everyone to ask me questions and think about, how the series went, what went well, what didn't go well, what could have gone differently, stuff like that. Just have a retrospective. And then I will respond with a video, and that's what this video is. So anyway, let's take a look back on Season 1 of Against All Odds. Now, if you missed the announcement, real quick, Season 1, of course, I call it Season 1 because I will be doing new episodes of Against All Odds at some point in the future. It's been a very popular series. I had a ton of fun playing it. You guys had a ton of fun watching it, apparently, so I will definitely be doing more. I also decided, fun fact, for those of you who've been following so loyally, I rather than making you wait a calendar year, or approximately a calendar year, which was the original plan, like have it start like around every Christmas season, like November-ish, December-ish, I actually think I want to do it every 6 months, just because a year's a long time to wait, and I frankly want to play it again. So I think I can manage starting around sometime in May. I can't make an exact promise, but that's when you can expect Season 2 to start. So, wow. Okay. How do I reflect on this awesome experience that was recording Season 1 of Against All Odds? First, I have to tip my hat, as I have so many times, and will continue to do, because they deserve it, to Hinterland Studios for making such an amazing game. If you, by some chance in hell, are watching this and you have never played The Long Dark before, you don't know what it is, maybe you've never been to my channel before, you're just like, what the heck is this video? But you're looking for a good survival experience in a game, you have to buy The Long Dark. You have to. It is the most unique, it is the most visceral, it is the only game I have ever played that has actually given me the psychological feeling of being cold. Excuse me. Been a little bit under the weather. Of being cold. I mean, how can you top that? There are a lot of games that, I mentioned this in the very intro of Season 1, where I said, this is a survival game, but there are no zombies, there are no aliens, there are no monsters. It's just you versus the elements, wild animals, trying to survive against hunger, thirst, cold. It's crazy. And to make such a compelling game, and even when it's just in alpha, and even when it's just in sandbox mode without any kind of story components yet, to make it so compelling and so not only playable, but also obviously watchable, is just fantastic. And I cannot thank Hinterland Studios enough for making the game that they have. They deserve your gratitude. If you are a survival player, if you've picked up The Long Dark, play the game, enjoy the game. It's a masterpiece, truly. As far as the actual show went, wow. It was a good run. I think I made it up to just shy of 80 days. Awesome beginning. Like, when I think back on it, there wasn't a much better way to begin than what happened. I mean, on episode 3, I found the rifle. On episode 5, I found a prepper cache. Those are two big things that typically take much longer to happen in a playthrough of The Long Dark. And I found both of them almost right away. So that was just overwhelmingly cool. And it turns out I actually missed a prepper cache, speaking of prepper caches, in one of the final episodes. It might have saved my life. But the start of the series went very, very well. And one of the interesting things that started to happen as the series went on is I started to get comments, some friendlier than others, some more frustrated than others, saying, hey, did you notice, you didn't do this. Like, there was one guy who he's very well-meaning, but I remember his comment vividly because he was like, please tell me at some point in the future of this series, this was after I'd recorded like 70 episodes and he was watching episode 30 or so I knew definitively that I would actually do what he was talking about. But he said, please tell me at some point you stop absolutely, all caps, wasting food. Because what I was doing at the beginning of the game was I actually, if I would kill an animal, unless I needed something from it that moment, like if I was trying to make the wolfskin coat, I wouldn't actually strip it of all of its meat, of its skin. I wouldn't take anything. I would kill the animal, protect myself, and move on, because it's really so interesting the way that the game allows you to play differently. You can be a total, I guess completionist isn't quite the right word. It's kind of a min-max thing too, but you could play it to where you never skipped anything. For instance, the second you killed a wolf, you skin it and take everything that you need right then and there, regardless of whether you feel like that, looking after that extra meat is going to weigh you down in any way. A lot of the time, I like to be a very mobile player in the Long Dark. I like the feeling of being able to go from place to place and not being weighed down, and the idea of gathering a lot of meat when I knew that I wasn't going to be in a certain safe house for long, and that, that stuff was a lot to carry around, kind of gave me pause a lot of the time. And obviously, playing that way, I made it to 80 days. And the way that my character actually died had nothing to do with how much I had stored up food-wise. So my strategy works, but it's so interesting to see people who play the game who look at that strategy as wasteful. And from their perspective, there's just this completely different way to go about it. And it was really, really, really interesting seeing those comments as it went along. I think that's one of the things that makes it so compelling. I remember a few people definitely said those exact words, that it takes, you have to see different ways to play. You don't have to, but you know what I mean. You watch the game, and one of the reasons it's nice to watch is there are different ways to play. So, I don't know. I think that was one of the most interesting things that was happening mid-series, is just, getting the commentary from you guys and starting to interact. I will say, looking back on the series, this was the first series. As I record this, I'm still a pretty new YouTuber, and my channel is young as I'm recording this. And this was the first series for which I ever had really, really strong, consistent viewership and interaction. The same people, multiple people commenting regularly. That becomes more of a normal thing when you get to be a larger channel. But it's very special when it happens for the first time. And this was the first series for me where that really happened. The series that I did before this one, called Roman Ascension, it had some regular commenters, but not as many as this one. This one definitely had a kind of explosion and brought in a lot of subscribers, which was very cool for me. So that's another thing that I really am grateful for, looking back on this series. So one thing that didn't happen was I never pulled a DiCaprio. I never got mauled by a bear. I don't know how many of you have seen The Revenant, but it's fantastic, by the way. You need to go see it. I know the head of Hinterland went to see it at some point over the last month or so. Seeing those tweets was pretty funny, because he was joking about how the game was going to get a lot harder as soon as he got back from seeing the movie. So I still don't know what that's like to get mauled by a bear in the Long Dark. I've never seen it happen to me. I mean, I've seen little clips of videos. I've never actually watched one all the way through on YouTube or anything. But, season 2, maybe. I'll get mauled by a bear. We'll see what happens. I mentioned earlier that one of the really compelling things about the Long Dark, and one of the compelling things about this series, was, you definitely, it gets in your head. And it gives you that feeling of being cold, psychologically, even when you're not physically cold and you're fine. You just, that feeling like you need to go inside, in the game. And Another thing that really stands out to me, and this is huge, this is probably the biggest thing, is I definitely came to see my character as a living person, which is huge. I mean, think about that from a development perspective, creating a sandbox game where you get attached to your character the longer you survive. I mean, imagine, once I get to a point where I'm surviving 100 plus days, it's just going to be rough. I don't know how many of you noticed my voice physically shaking when I was beginning to realize in the final episode that I was going to die. It's not like I was, a complete, mess, and it was only for a moment. But if you go back and listen, it's there. And I think it's another huge compliment to the developers for creating a game where you can buy into the survival psychology that richly and that deeply. So, speaking of the ending, and I want to get to your questions soon. Funny thing about The Long Dark, there's never a happy ending. No matter how far you get, dying always comes at an inopportune moment, right? It always comes when you're not really planning it. I did envision an end to this series as this slow death that we all saw coming when I'd exhausted all my resources and supplies and I knew I had no chance, and I'd spent an entire episode dying as I slowly trudged toward the sunrise or something. And I'd love to end a series like that one day, maybe next time. But even if that were to happen, even then, it still kind of leaves you with this unique, well, shit feeling. Like, you're done. There's nothing more to do. It's, like I said, you get attached to your playthrough. Like, there are people I know of that have done, I don't know of any that have been recorded, but there are people that have played The Long Dark for 500 days or more. That's insane. But can you imagine what happens when they die? I mean, I would think it's like, kind of like the feeling of getting to the end of one of your favorite TV shows. You know that feeling when there's nothing more on a particular character, and you get to the end of a favorite book. Man, I'm talking way too fast for my own good. I thought I would fix this problem. When you finish a story that you love, the feeling of not being able to get anything else from that character is painful. And it's the same in The Long Dark, which, I mean, it's just phenomenal the way it happened. So, all in all, I'm very happy with how the series went. The death was unexpected. I was very comfortable with the idea that I would get to 100 days. But, certain mistakes were made, and I'll get to those when I actually start thinking about your questions. By the way, one thing I did not do, as you guys know, I'm a little bit scripted here because I wanted to have some things to talk about. I've been thinking about this for a long time. But when it comes to your questions, I actually have not really... I mean, I've seen them, so I've thought about them a little bit, but I don't have answers prepared. I'm going to look at each question one by one, and I'm going to answer you as I would face-to-face, as if you had just asked me the question straight to me, because I think it's better that way. So let's jump right in. And, I mean, this is an AMA response, so let's see what you guys had to ask. So RustedGround asked, what would you have done differently now that you've reached the end of the series? Well, that's actually... that's a pretty obvious answer, actually. I would have kept more skins. One of the things I realized in the twilight of the series, the very last moments, was that I had made a mistake in not skinning every single animal that I came across and keeping the skin, even if I didn't have an item that I needed to craft for it right then, because it turns out you actually need those skins to repair the animal skin items. I thought you could just repair them with leather. I thought you had to make them with the animal skins, but they could be repaired with leather. Maybe it was that way in an early version of the game, or maybe my brain just made that up. Either way, unfortunately, I did not stockpile nearly as many skins. And as you know, one of the things that did kill me was my clothing was really, really beaten down. And I was trying to get it fully repaired up before I found Timberwolf Mountain, but I found Timberwolf Mountain. I got excited. I ran up there. I ran back. And then some bad things happened. I mean, another thing I would have done differently, Rusty, is I would have remembered that I had a freaking flare before I got attacked by that wolf. Because there was a particular wolf that attacked me that took away some health, and then I stood there trying to skin it for a bit. And that was just not a good decision. Because it just caused my health to drop drastically while time was passing while I was skinning the animal. So those are probably the two things I would have done a little bit differently. Ironically, they both have to do with skinning an animal. CJB Games asked, what was your best and worst part of the whole series? Crap, maybe I should have prepared some answers. And then he asked, what do you want to do on your channel in the future? Any big plans? So I'm going to focus mainly on the series-related one, but I'll comment briefly on the big plans one as well. So, best and worst part of the series. I think, let me think about some of the very best moments, and then maybe we can decide which is the best, or I can decide. Can't actually talk to you guys while we're doing this. So, I think one thing that I really enjoyed doing was making the run back to the forge in order to make arrows. That was a risk. It was a calculated risk, but it was the first thing that I did kind of as a survivor, going out, fully geared up, and I had a purpose. I was going to go do something in the world and then come back, long haul, to and from, to my safe house. That was pretty cool. Whether it was the best moment of the series, I don't know. There were a lot of really brief moments that were like really pulse pounding. One of my absolute favorites is, and this again shows how the game gets in your head, because I had a few people comment on how they loved watching me like shake. Oh gosh. There was a particular way it was put by one commenter at one point in the series. I feel like called it like a panicky wiggle of terror or something like that. It was hilarious the way he put it. That's not the exact wording, but it's so true. Like, you know, when I'm getting charged by a bear, there's a moment that I actually have in my channel introduction now because it was so scary. I tried to shoot a bear that was standing up to attack me, and it just charged me, and I was like, crap, I didn't kill it. And as I'm running for the door, you can just see my hand on my mouse is literally shaking because my view is all over the place, which I think is, again, that's just another huge compliment to the game, that it creates feelings that are that, you know, real. Not that I was actually, I think I probably would have needed to change my pants if my brain sincerely believed I was being attacked by a bear. But the point is, it got to me to the point where I was doing more than just a quick little, like, shake. I mean, I was trembling. So that's cool. There were lots of little moments like that I thought were great, but I don't know that those are necessarily the best moments of the series. I like that trip back to make the arrows. I liked the moment that I finally had all of my animal gear. That was cool. I liked watching the sunrise after getting the Nightwalker achievement. That was pretty cool too, because it was way up on Signal Hill in Pleasant Valley. I mean, Miserable Valley. And that was cool. I enjoyed that a lot. And then what was? Hang on. I'll think about the worst part of the series, and maybe I'll think about another candidate for best moment momentarily. So, worst part of the whole series. Dying. But that's a cop-out answer, you know, I can't say the ending because that's the automatic answer. I don't know, there weren't many things that I genuinely felt went badly about the series. Not gonna lie. I mean, obviously it's a survival game, so sometimes things get rough, but that's when it's most entertaining, so you can't really say that things went badly then. Even when you make mistakes, it's entertaining in the long dark because it's like, oh, how's he gonna get out of this, you know? Worst part of the whole series, apart from dying. I don't know. I'm gonna come back to that one. You asked another brief question. What do you want to do on your channel in the future? Any big plans? As I've mentioned to you guys in the past, I want to do more series. Definitely. But I mean, that seems like such a, you know, straightforward answer. And the answer is very straightforward. I want to do series in different games. I want to repeat series in the games that people like. Because again, I do see this channel as a community. And I want to make sure that I'm producing content that people are enjoying. And to a certain extent, it's got to be about what I want to play. right? And some things that I have fun doing. Otherwise, you guys are not going to enjoy it. But there's a two-way street going too, you know. So I want to make videos that you guys like, and what you see as far as how the channel is set up is very much what I want the channel to be. And, you know, I'm a part-time YouTuber. I have no intentions of taking it any further than you see right now. I just want to continue to improve, make better and better channel intro, make better and better channel art, logo, you know, just incremental improvements to everything that's already in place. So that's more or less where I want to take my channel in the future. Not gunning to be a full-time YouTuber. Just that's not the goal. I wouldn't mind having thousands of subscribers. I wouldn't mind having hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But that's not the point. The point is to make good videos and to have fun doing it, and you know, make sure that I've got a good community going. That's my like number one goal, is, you know, to have that really strong, good, positive community. So that's the biggest plan, CJB. Vincent asked, what were your feelings when it all ended? Probably not only sad. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, every time I get to the end of a series, I always get a little bit excited because I know I get to play something new. So that was cool. That was probably the next feeling down after the sadness. Just the feeling of, oh, cool, new stuff. But as far as like my feelings toward the game, I think they were a little mixed, because I do feel like ultimately I died as a result of some silly mistakes. So I was sitting there going, yes, I'm satisfied with this series. I thought it was a good run, and I'm glad everyone enjoyed watching it. But at the same time, I think I could have done better, which is part of the reason I'm going to do season 2. So those three things, I think. You're right, there's the initial sadness. There's the excitement about the new, you know, whatever was coming next. And there was the mixed feeling of it not quite going in the end the way that excuse me, sorry guys, the way I had envisioned. Witherwings7 asked, no, just Witherwings asked, will you be doing the next Let's Play of Sandbox mode in the Long Dark, or will you be doing the upcoming story mode? The answer is both. My next Let's Play, my next Against All Odds, will be another identical series to this. Obviously not identical, but you know what I mean. I will probably start in Mystery Lake again, and we'll play a little bit differently, because I will be playing to the audience that's already here, that's already watched one series. So I'll be explaining a little bit less, and we'll be assuming a little bit more, as far as like, it's kind of like watching season 2 of a TV show. You know, you don't explain the whole plot most of the time. You know, when you start season 2, you just assume that people have seen season 1. So I'm going to continue from that note, but it'll be a new character. Might play as the male character just to do a different voice. I still am worried that sometimes that might confuse people, but maybe I don't sound as much like Mark Meer as I think sometimes. I don't think I sound like Mark Meer, but I just didn't want the voices to overlap and people wonder who was talking. Yeah, I will also be doing a Let's Play of Story Mode when Story Mode comes out. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And finally, CaptainDelugo asked, this actually looks like a quite promising survival game. How does it stand out against all the other survival games? I think I might have inadvertently answered that already, but I think it's a great question, and it leads into the final thing that I want to say before I close the video. How does it stand out? It stands out by not throwing any BS at you. There's literally no BS in the Long Dark. And by BS, I mean not only silly mechanics that are like designed to kill you, right? But also nothing made up. Again, there is no science fiction in the Long Dark. The only thing that's kind of science fiction-y is the geomagnetic storm that the world is experiencing, but even that is plausible. You know, it's more plausible than a lot of scenarios you see in a lot of survival games. There are no zombies. You know, there are no dragons. There's no magic, anything like that. It's just you and the elements. I mean, that by itself is the best answer to that question that I can give, I think, is just, you know, how does it stand out? It stands out by just appealing to the most visceral, basic survival instincts, you know, that you can have. Hunger, thirst, you know, are you adequately clothed? Are you, you know, have you avoided, you know, food poisoning? And Oh, and by the way, let's take it up a notch. It's cold everywhere, and there's blizzards every 5 minutes. You know, that's crazy, and that's what makes it stand out. As far as whether there's anything else, yeah, I've got to come back to the people making it. Raphael, Patrick, Alan, Bethany, and the rest of the team. Those are the ones that I've actually spoken to. The team is larger than those 4, obviously. But they have just done such a tremendous job. And I want to close this video, this look back on Season 1 of Against All Odds, by thanking them for all of their support throughout the process. One of the really cool things that happened, when I posted to the Long Dark forums, check this out, guys. You can go and look if you want. Announcing that I was going to do this series. The first reply was from head of studio. It was from Raphael, saying, hey, this looks awesome. Really looking forward to it. How often can a brand new YouTuber post something on a game forum and get an almost immediate response from the head of the studio thanking them and saying that they are excited about it? That's special, people. And if you don't think it's special, you're crazy. It's just, I can't thank Hinterland Studios enough for all of the kindness that they've shown, in, just supporting the series and supporting me as a YouTuber, just reaching out on Twitter and commenting on stuff. And I think Hinterland Studio even has a few comments at some point on the series. I mean, and by no means, I don't think I'm the only one, and by no means was I the first one. But it's really, really cool that they are the people that they are, and that's going back to your question, Cap. That's one of the biggest things that helps the game stand out. So, thank you, Hinterland, for everything that you do for making this amazing game that we all love. Thank you to my viewers for making The Long Dark Against All Odds my most successful series yet, and also for making it my first seasonal series. I wouldn't make it a seasonal thing if I didn't feel like people really wanted to see more. And believe me, I really want to play more. So I really appreciate everyone for watching, for sending their questions. We will do another look back, of course, at the end of Season 2, whenever that is. Again, with Season 2, I think what I might do is I will occasionally think about, taking breaks. Let's say I get to 100 days or 120 days, say, and then say, okay, gotta play something else for a bit, otherwise I'm going to lose my mind, but we'll come back to it. And maybe that'll just be a continuation of Season 2, Season 2.5, whatever. But regardless of how I structure it, we'll do another look back at the end of each series. So I want to continue to encourage you guys to look for these videos when series end, regardless of whether it's a Long Dark series or not. Send me your questions. Let me know what you think of a series, why you liked it, why you didn't like it, and just general commentary as well. Again, as you guys know, my only requirement is that people are kind on my channel. That's all I ask. As long as you are thoughtful in your feedback, I don't care if it's constructive or critical or negative feedback, just as long as it's well worded and nice, and not like the rest of the internet. So with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this video here. Thank you very much for watching. The current series that is going in my 6 p.m. slot is Planet Base. Pretty soon we're going to start a series in Master of Orion. So we're going to have 2 strategy series going at once. That'd be pretty cool. Crown of Charlemagne is, of course, ending, so we got some Civilization 5 coming up in that. But I'm getting into kind of look-ahead territory, and I have to record that video too. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one, and then maybe tonight, maybe at some point in the next day or two, I'll go ahead and record that look-ahead for March so you guys can see what's around the corner. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next video.